Now, one more critical part of understanding when we're doing our inserts, our overrides, and just using hotkeys and so on, or anything you're actually applying inside the sequence area, is the focus point, the primary layer. Right now, we know I have one audio track, I have one video track. If I want to add more video or audio tracks, I can do it again in many different ways. If I right-click in this little empty area above my layer where I have no layer, I get the contextual menu and I get the new option, and you can see video track. Just for reference, the hotkey is Command L and the plus key on your number pad, not the plus key above your letters. The plus key on the number pad will give you a new video track. You can go to the gear menus to do this. You can go to the drop-down menus to do this, but here I'm just doing it. I right-click, I choose new, I choose video track, and boom, I have a new video track. Notice what happened automatically was this little yellow line, this cross yellow line here, which is our focus point, moved up to the new layer that I just created. I can manually grab it and drag it down and put it now on this layer. So now you'll notice where it's P for primary, it's going to follow this as I move this around. Now, instead of manually moving that up and down with my cursor, if I use the page up key, that takes it up. I can navigate through my different layers, including my audio. Watch what happens if I hit page up again. It's actually going to go down to my audio tracks. So just like the markers and the keyframes I showed you, we can toggle through page up, page up, page up, and page down is going to navigate downwards. So page down, page down, page up, page up, page up. So it's always important to understand where this is at before you start to do your inserts, your overrides, or even a lot of your cuts and your dynamic editing that we're going to be looking at. This is going to determine what is actually happening, such as making a cut. If I create a cut using a hotkey of Control V, which is what our hotkey is to make a cut, Control V creates the cut in the timeline. It will create the cut in what's called a gap right here. Notice that when I select this area of the layer that has nothing, it actually does have something. It has what's called a gap. And we'll look at this a little deeper later, but understand that this is an actual object, if you will, inside my timeline. If I hold Control and I hit the V key, you're going to look and say, wait, what happened? Did you kill something? No. What I did is I actually created a cut in the gap. Look at when I select this, you'll see that these are two separate objects now. So that's how you create your cut. But notice that the cut happened on the layer with the gap effect because my focus point was there. Let me undo that really quickly. So now there is no cut, okay? If I want to cut through everything, all of my layers at one time, I hold Control Shift V, and now you'll notice the gap got cut, this guy got cut, and so did my audio got cut. If there's a layer you do not want to be affected by a cut action such as that, Control Shift V, you lock it. You can lock your audio, you can lock your video tracks over here in the patch panel where you had the little lock button. That's going to lock it, and if I turn it on once again, you'll notice you see the striped lines telling you or indicating this is locked. Then that layer or that audio, video, whatever, would not be affected by the action that I just did. Let me undo that. I want to get rid of all those cuts, okay? And before we start to do our inserts or overrides, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is navigating through multiple layers using your up and down arrow key, which I just discussed a second ago. But let's do this. Let's create a couple copies of clips and just put some clips on this top layer. So I select this clip down here, Command C, and now because my focus point is on the top layer, I hit Command V, and it's going to paste that clip onto that layer. Okay, let me zoom back a little bit, move over, let's take this thing, do the same thing. Command C, I'll copy that. I'll go over here. Now I can right click and I can choose paste. I'll paste that clip in there. So now you'll see what we have is we've got a couple clips on the top layer, including a gap because obviously there's space in between those two. But if I want to deselect this, I'm just going to click up here. Again, we'll come back and looking at all the selection, deselection hotkeys in a second. But I don't want anything selected for right now. My point of this is if I want to start navigating to the transitions, the cut points of these different clips, as I said, we can use our up and down arrow key. But that focus point, that cross yellow bar, is going to control what transitions and what layer I'm going to go to using the arrow key. So for example, I hit the up arrow key, I go to the previous transition for this layer. I hit the down arrow key, we navigate, as I said, to these different transitions. I hit it again, I go all the way to the end of my sequence, determined by my audio. You can always use your home and your end to jump back and forth between the very beginning and the end of your sequence. But now watch what happens if I hold the Control key and I start to hit my up arrow key. I navigate to the cut, but on the bottom layer. So when you're holding your control key, this option of using your up and down arrow key to get to different transitions, different cut points, will take into consideration any cuts, any transitions on all the different layers. So once again, not holding control, I'm going to navigate to the transition point based on the individual layer that the focus point is on. Holding control, up and down arrow, I'm going to go to the transition points for any layer that you have. Let me delete these extra clips I put on this top layer. So you can take your clip and just drag it down to the bottom of the UI, and you can throw it away that way. You can also use your delete key and so on. There's many ways of doing the same action of deleting.